this is no saving this movie. We're officially done.
Yeah, I think he can just force teleport. That's what we're giving him. We're
I
giving the power to
guess.
So
force
they start
teleport.
fighting because he's trying to get her to turn, and she's like, "No, I'm gonna go kill Palpatine, whatever, blah blah blah." And they get to the surface and they're fighting, and Finn makes it there with Jana, and Jana's like, "Leave her alone. She don't like you. You're in the friend zone." And he's like, "No, one more chance, one more chance. I'm the one for you. He's your cousin." And then we cut to Carrie Fisher. Yes,
Oh, she knocks him back.
yeah,
She
he's
knocks him
actually
back. Back.
he has the upper hand here. He's showing why he's a trained Jedi and she's not, despite her
Yeah.
OP status.
Right.
And then we cut to back to the Rebel base with Maz Kanata and Chewie and Leia
And Rose
or Rose
Tico, who
Tico. There's
got
a
about
whole
30
man.
seconds
I
of
just found
screen
out
time.
today. There's like a whole
Well, Moss was
like
another wasted character. What did Moss do in the?
there's criticism on
She
how they
showed
treat her
up.
character. It's really out there. I just was reading
Yeah.
about that today, but we get to that another
Right.
time.
Yeah.
So they're like, "What's wrong?" And Maz is like, she has to do now what she doesn't want to do, but she knows the only way. So she goes into what it looks like to be a forced sleep, something like that, and she starts whispering, "Ben." And now she's violating him, force FaceTiming him in the middle of the fight that he has with Ray, and he stops and he looks back, and Ray just steps up and just stabs him in the chest. Whack! And I'm like, ooh, I didn't see that coming. Neither did he.
Hmm.
So all of a sudden, she kind of pauses, and I like to think that she was thinking what she did was very dark. She attacked him when he wasn't paying attention, whatever. But then in the middle of combat, in the heat of the moment, and I don't hear anything from Leia
Hmm.
again. It's just Kylo and her. She's hugging him, and that's when she shows you her full extent of her power. She does the force healing over the wound, and my wife claims that she also fixed his face because the scar was gone. I was like, I don't know. We only
No,
seen
I
it
I
once,
didn't
Oh, I
but
notice
didn't
she
even
that.
notice that.
Yeah.
she claimed he did that too, and I'm like, maybe
Oh.
if I ever watch it again, I'll double check that part. So they have a little tete-a-tete there, and then she leaves for Palpatine, right? And he sits there, and then comes a Harrison Ford moment where I don't know how much they paid this guy to come back to do this one cameo because I knew he was done with Star Wars, but Han Solo comes back as a. People are saying it's a memory. It's not because he wasn't a Force user. Yeah, so he's a
Yeah, he
memory of
says
him,
that.
and
I
they
think
reenact that same thing. I know I need to do something, but I don't know how to do, and I always love you. He's like Kylo
touches his
died,
face. Yeah.
been still alive or reborn, and then he tosses his lightsaber in the ocean. I'm like, great.
I have to say, this scene is the one that actually got me of all of the scenes in this entire movie. It definitely this scene. Harrison Ford,
Yeah, that was good.
good job.
I'm glad they got him back at least for that, right? So.
Yeah, well, 5 million, 10 million, whatever it was. Well earned, man. Well earned.
Uh-huh.
Hey, for the best 15
I,
seconds
I
of
think I
this
like that scene
entire
only
movie.
because of like the scene with the oceans, and again, Star Wars has always been one of the best, if not the best, for cinematography. But the way they shot that, the angle, the
Hmm.
sounds, everything else happening, made you feel like you were right there at the edge, listening in. So
Well, and you guys know my feeling on the whole Vader thing. That actually felt reasonable, like an actual setup of a character feeling a certain way in this trilogy that was passed over for the past three movies. Basically, like, hey, he was struggling with this the whole time. And, you know, I know we don't know much about his past. We have a weird back and forth about what actually happened, and I don't read the comics, so I don't know he didn't kill anybody, blah blah. But you know, that felt right. That felt like a real. Hey, it happened in this trilogy, and this is the callback within this trilogy. Not a hey, you guys, remember
mm.
40 years ago when that happened? No, this felt right. This
so
is
from
the
feeling
one
right to
scene.
feeling terribly wrong comes the very next moments where Palpatine sends a single star destroyer to destroy the planet that Poe and the guys were just on with Kerry Russell's character. Um, and basically, it's a mini Death Star flies out, boom. By the way, this is where it gets really. I mean, this is not where it's been getting hokey pokey, but the fact that one of these ships was able to leave the atmosphere, and then later on you find out the whole fleet can't leave unless a satellite hears, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So, and then after that, R2 restores C3PO's memory, where you just felt like C3PO was killed, but no, R2 actually does have a backup file for C3PO. So C3PO, yeah, but it's old, but it's
But it's
not. It's I
old.
think it's old where it was before this movie, but it was
Beginning
after
of the
the
movie,
Last
old.
Jedi, right? So something in between those
Right.
two, within that year, he still had a backup memory. Um, so now the entire Resistance, because Ray went back to Octo and it was like crying and grieving. It was tossing everything to this fire. It was about to toss Luke's saber, and and Luke's force goes. I'm like, oh my god, man! You couldn't just leave it where it is. You got to continue and hurt me with this. His force ghost catches the saber and starts, like,
Oh no, he says. Do you remember what he
No, well,
said?
no,
So he catches the saber and he goes, "A Jedi should treat his lightsaber
sorry, you cut out
better."
for a second. What was that?
a Jedi should treat his lightsaber better. The
Oh,
So
same guy
okay,
who
yeah,
tossed his saber in the beginning of Last Jedi,
yeah, right.
Ryan Johnson. Dig
so
it,
so
Ryan
that's
Johnson.
another
Yep.
Brian Johnson.
So then comes this whole speech with Luke about the Jedi. He was wrong, and you know, blah blah blah. I tuned out at that point. Like I was like, don't give me this whole freaking like you're telling me everything that happened in the previous movies is just jack shit, and this is what you need to do now. And he goes in and gives her Leia's Jedi, her saber, and then they show us a flashback of when the two of them
Oh,
were training sometime after
oh,
Return of the Jedi, where Leia, first of all, Leia was able to best Luke in that training sequence. I was like, then why the hell are you training her? She should be training people. Like you suck. And then
Yeah, I thought about that part, and I was like, well, there's going to be some point where the student, like, we don't know how long they had been training, right? And there was some point where the student would be as good as the master, if not
yeah, but
better,
this was
right?
still supposed to be peak Luke from Return of the Jedi, who overthrew the
No,
Emperor and
I
Vader.
know that, but yeah, but at some point, the twin sister,
Yeah,
would
that
be
I
just
get
as
it. I get
powerful.
it. She has the
Yeah,
potential. I get it with adequate
right.
training, but
Yeah,
then here's where the real part gets me. She's like, I'm gonna quit being a Jedi because I had a Force vision that one of my kids is gonna be turned to the dark side. So I'm gonna quit and not become a Jedi. I'm like, wait, what?
all right. I've got to run and get my kid. If you guys are willing to take a 10-minute break,
Yeah,
yeah, I'm okay.
Calling Buzz Lightyear. Come in, Buzz Lightyear. This is Star Command. Buzz Lightyear, do you read me?
Buzz Lightyear responding. Read you loud and clear.
Buzz Lightyear, planet Earth needs your help.
On the way.
Buzz Lightyear! Get your Buzz Lightyear action figure and save a galaxy near you! Buzz Lightyear!
Available at all Al's Toy Bound outlets in the Tri-County area.
all right.
start recording. Start recording. All right, back. Thank you. That was our wonderful little commercial break.
Intermission is what Rise of Skywalker needed.
And a second movie afterwards.
Uh-huh.
All right. So we were discussing for a momentary break was James was explaining the Force Ghost Luke talking to Ray and fixing his spaceship at the same time.
Correct. So Rey, in her moment of grief with what's been happening with her throughout the entire movie, including what she thought was killing Kylo and then resurrecting Kylo, she burns down relics, I guess, stuff that she had from Octo, from Luke, and then begins to toss Luke's saber out into the ocean. And Force Ghost Luke grabs it in midair and says to her, Jedi should take better care of their weapon, which again was a slap in the face to the previous movie. But at this point, we're getting punch, kick, slaps left and right, and just taking it.
Yeah, this is a curb stomp. Of a movie.
Hadouken.
Yeah, like cue the Simpsons. He's already dead. meme. So she stops, she sees him, and then he begins to give her like a pep talk about, her being a Palpatine, and they knew, Leia knew, but she was still, they wanted to give her a chance to do her own thing. And again, at this point in the movie, as I said earlier, I'm zoned out. I'm just like, nothing matters to me anymore. Let's just see how this movie ends, because now I know for sure this movie will not be better than Last Jedi.
I just
You're
want
now
to
giving me
I want to stop you right there because for a second because I was thinking about.
shoot.
So they knew she was a
Hmm.
Palpatine, and they were like, oh well. But Luke had an inkling that Ben might turn bad, sneaks into his bedroom when he's a kid, and almost kills him.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that doesn't
None of that
quite
looked
look
right.
right
No.
anymore,
None.
does it? It's kind of like it's kind of like Luke or Leia kissing Luke. You're like, you know what? Now that I know this
Yeah.
storyline, they might have missed something in
And
that
Han
opening.
Solo must have known too, in Force Awakens, who she was,
Uh huh.
Right. When he invited her
but
on
it
the
didn't
crew.
matter. It didn't matter. So ultimately, what? He kind of gets her to go back to fight Palpatine, save the day, and then he gives her Leia's saber as well, which was hiding in his old home. And she's like, I don't have anything. I'm not gonna be able to get there in time. And they play the same music that they played in Empire Strikes Back when Yoda lifts Luke's X-wing. Same X-wing, I believe, that's buried in this ocean. And Luke
Mm-hmm.
looks just like Yoda, his eyes closed, his hand out. This is the Force Ghost Luke, by the way, not human Luke. Resurrects the ship, brings it back. Music is playing.
Dude, everybody has
You know,
superpowers in this one.
fanboys and
Just give it to me.
fangirls having orgasms all over the freaking movie theater.
Uh
Luke finally lifted
huh.
his
Yeah,
thing
dude,
after all these
there's no
years.
try. Someone should
Exactly.
have told that to the damn people behind this trilogy. And of course, she gets in. She gets into the ship. She's flying. Meanwhile, our rest of our crew, who we've totally forgot about,
Can I just say that Star Wars metal that doesn't rust? That's fantastic.
Durasteel. That's what it's called.
Yes,
Durasteel.
whatever it's called, amazing.
Well, and also I think this was another, I don't know if it's a callback, but her in the helmet, the oversized white
Yeah.
helmet
Yeah.
from episode
Uh
7. So it felt like every time they shot to her, I'm like, she looks like a little kid in that. I don't know why it just
yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's
Cute.
Luke's helmet, but it's like,
Real cute. Speaking of cute, so once you saw her get the second saber, it was like Chekhov's gun. You knew that was going to be for Kylo, who just tossed his over the water, right? Get his mom's saber. So whatever.
mm-hmm.
She goes off to confront Palpatine now, and is driving the Luke's X-wing, and then the rest of the what's left of the resistance now is tracking her. I'm like, oh, her signal. She's showing us the way how to get to Palpatine. Yeah, let's go. They're like, but we don't have anybody. And then
Ah,
Lando's like, I can get reinforcements. I'm like, wait, what? We spent two movies with no resistance left, and you're gonna find a resistance like in an hour?
in like an hour.
Give me a
Yeah.
break. So she lands in the same scene where
But not only that. Wait a minute. How the hell did once Lando left? How did he know how to get there
he didn't.
with the
He
fleet?
didn't.
Well, I mean, assuming they were recording
Okay.
Assuming
the little
somebody was
tracking
Yes.
sending,
beacon.
there was some communications officer that was in charge of this whole battle strategy that didn't exist, then yeah.
Yeah.
There was a
And what
YouTube
exactly?
video of
What exactly
instructions.
was she traveling through to get to the planet?
That red nebula thing.
Kylo did too. It
Just
was some like
But
gas.
it wasn't
Yeah,
like
gas.
the Kessel run. That was different.
No, it was like
it was cool visuals, man.
a
It was cool
similar
Right.
visuals.
idea.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to figure out what it was that made it so hard to get there.
It was just you had to go through this red nebula that was hard to
Yeah.
see, which I in space, whatever, with lots of uh, debris. So you had to. They were weaving in and out because I don't know how you weave that many ships though.
And I don't know whether that was some dangerous gas that would destroy the ships, or it was a wormhole that would send them to another part of the galaxy. It didn't matter. It just looked cool. It looked cool.
Right. Because can I ask? Because if you just went light speed, like they did this
Oh, we didn't
thing
talk about that.
earlier in the movie where Poe does this light speed hopping, where he
skipping, yeah.
basically
Yes.
hits light speed, then turns it off, and he ends up wherever he ends up.
But it didn't make any sense because the other ships were able to keep tracking him through the light speed.
Right. Well, I guess if I know we all hate that part of the Last Jedi, but I guess if light speed tracking was still a thing,
Yeah,
then
but
it's a thing.
this was supposed to be something different and
But
new
anyway,
that we've never seen before.
right? No,
Yet
I don't agree.
the enemy
with
was
it
able to
either.
copy
Yeah.
them.
No,
So what's the purpose of showing
yeah.
us that other than cool visuals?
But they weren't as good of a pilot. They weren't as good of a pilot, I guess. I don't know. But
Okay.
so he does this light speed hopping thing, and it shows that he can basically pass through
Yes.
things,
Yes.
sort of, right? And so why can't you just light speed to the other side of this dangerous
I guess
gaseous
because they were following
mass?
a direct course from the Wayfinder, so they didn't want to take the chance and maybe to teleport right in the middle of Palpatine's throne room. Who knows?
It just felt weird. Like it's space. Go around. You're going like total distances at instantaneously in these movies. Nobody's flying anywhere. Nobody's sitting in there taking a trip.
It's
Right?
amazing they had no fuel concerns in this movie.
No, I know we had that. That was
No
that was a
fuel
major concern in the
concerns at
last
all.
movie. This movie, not so much.
Oh well, and they could only in the last one they could only light speed a few times. This one he was just like, oh man, I'm hitting the light. Look how much I'm light speeding, guys. See, no fuel problems.
Dude,
just light
we were going
speeding.
through like 20 different planets in this movie. Did you catch that? How many planets we were just like hitting left and right in this movie?
Mhm.
Right. Yeah, the whole thing was at light speed. So yeah. All right.
No,
I
that's
just had to
fine.
say
So
that.
we get to the point where
There were-
Rey
we-
is
we were
leading
back-
the rest of the rebels to her destination, and she's obviously pole position. She's landing at Exegol, and to me, this is where we finally hit the moment in this entire Star Wars saga where this is by far one of the worst third acts I've ever watched for this franchise, and I was just baffled. I was baffled that everything that Darth Sidious, which at one point was probably my favorite villain, up until our purple guy Thanos eclipsed him in the recent Avengers movies. I would say Darth Sidious Palpatine was probably my favorite um, movie villain, only because he showed to me a combination of shrewdness, tact, and evil power that was to me
Mhm.
unparalleled until this damn movie came and just shitted on him in the form of him. Like everything about this final act here.
He literally looked like they shit
Yeah,
on
like
him.
he was being. So what we didn't talk about was the state of Palpatine earlier when he was first confronted by
Yeah.
Kylo. Like he looked like he was in some sort of life support system. They never explained to you how he survived. There's canon stuff out there that are
Right.
based on comics that I have no care reading. I mean, I went online and got a couple of information from it, but I would no intention of buying it or reading it outright. I know there's different reasons why he survived. I don't care. It didn't make any sense.
The only thing they did was do the callback to Revenge of the Sith when he explained that the unnatural abilities,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Of the
So
Sith.
so Ray shows up and he's basically, he's telling her the full story. You are a Palpatine. I killed your parents because I wanted to get to you. And again, I guess his son wasn't force sensitive at all because he could have just had his son, but whatever. He killed his parents. He wanted to get to him, and then now she's here. She's
Right.
Empress Palpatine. Take your place. Strike me down. My essence will be in you. And then you see behind him what looked like to be an entire cowboy stadium full of hooded Sith folks that don't tie into any of the cartoons, books, legends, or canon books. This is just some random shit that they just threw out there of hooded figures. All the Sith live in me now, and I'm like, this is just like beyond trash. Like you basically disrespected everything that's supposed to be canon about the Sith lore by showing me a dark arena of these hooded guys. They'll all look similar, all chanting, whatever. And he tells us the plan was basically for her to take over the galaxy. This entire setup, she was a true final order, right? So I'm thinking, okay, so this is where we get Ray turns dark because at some point I'm like, if you want to twist something now,
Well, so,
now's the time. She's gonna turn dark.
so wait. So here's my question. So I'm sitting there and watching it, and I'm like, all right. So the point of having Luke strike him down was to take his place, not that like part of Palpatine would become Luke. It would be just that his anger and hate took over him.
Yes,
He accepts the dark side, and he's
correct.
at
Because
the
he
right
knew that
hand of his
that
father.
Vader wouldn't let him just strike him down. There would be a fight, and then he's presuming that Luke would win and
Yeah.
take over
Right.
and then just like when Anakin killed Mace Windu, that was a final act where he said, he cut himself from the Jedi, and I pledge my allegiance to you. So he knew him
Mhm.
killing the father he tried to redeem would be the final step in him becoming uh, a Sith.
But this is her. He says Ray
Oh yeah,
killing him, he will become part of her. That's a completely
correct,
different type
correct,
of power switch. Like now it's like soul
correct.
transfer or something. It's like would she not have a mind anymore that's hers, or is she
Yeah,
just
That's
that
not
was like I
answered.
was like,
But knowing
what?
Palpatine and knowing it, well, again, forget about knowing Palpatine. What I thought I knew about Palpatine would have led me to believe that it was going to be a switcheroo where he actually would take over her body, not so much him like igniting her strength even more and her essence just kind of raising her power. It would be more like him taking over her body. The Palpatine that we knew from the six different movies in the canon books. But that's out the window in the trash because no one knows exactly what the plan was going to be because it didn't matter because Kylo shows up. Yeah.
because we don't play Fortnite
So
and we didn't
Ben
listen to
Ben
the
Solo
people.
shows up. Let's call him Ben now, and he's on a mission to save her. Right?
Okay, so did we notice that Ben took a time to change his clothes?
I think he dropped the cape. I don't remember seeing the cape.
Because he didn't have that big padded shoulder thing. He was now in like
Yeah,
a
I think that was
t-shirt.
part of the cape, though.
He was just like in a t-shirt and
I
jeans.
thought there was like a
Yeah.
light jacket. I thought he had like a light jacket,
Right.
like a spring jacket.
Oh man, it's a little chilly there. Like that's what his father stopped to say. It's cold there, man. A light
So he
jacket.
gets
Don't
there,
get sick.
and who do we see? The Knights of Ren. I'm like, oh yeah,
Oh,
it's about to be, you know, but he doesn't have a blade. What's gonna happen? Oh no.
so they start beating him up, kicking him. He can't do anything. Like not like he has the force or
No, not at
anything.
all. He's like Poe out there.
No
His
force
equivalent
push
of Poe with
ability.
no weapon
Yep.
in the middle of the Knights of Ren. So
Yeah.
he's getting beat. Slow motion montage is happening. Ray slowly walking to freaking Palpatine, who's like, yes, do it, like weird.
Right.
And then she lifts her hand behind her shoulder and she teleports. This is where now it's truly teleporting. It's no longer force FaceTiming. She teleports her saber, the
Mhm.
second saber, to Kylo, which we presume was Leia's saber, the second one, right? So he gets his saber.
Mhm.
Now all of a sudden, no more slow motion. Now he's beating up the Knights of Ren because he's got a saber now, and she's taking out the little minion, whatever those scientist guards that were next to Palpatine.
No, they
They're the
were
Red
red.
Guard.
They were
Oh,
the red
can't tell
guard.
in the dark. It was too dark.
Yeah. Right. But it's like Thor Ragnarok. It's like the power isn't in the weapon.
No,
Why why are you getting beat up without your weapon and then all of a sudden you're powerful again with your weapon? Sorry.
but it gets worse.
Go ahead.
So they take care of the mini bosses, and now it's final boss.
The mini
Finals
boss.
boss. So then the two of them walk up together, and Palpatine weirdly looks like he's zapping them, but then at the same time his fingers kind of like heal when he does it. So that's when he makes his whole
Bro,
speech
yeah.
about, oh wow, the Force dyad, opposing forces that hasn't been seen in many moons, many years. And I'm like thinking, okay, we talked about this in some form or fashion in Rebels, which he was part of with Ezra, like the good, the bad, the father, the son, and the daughter of the Force reincarnated. So I'm thinking, oh, they're gonna. At this point, even if I thought they're gonna do it, I'm like, this is still trash. It's too late now to bring that story up because you've done nothing to build any of that stuff, and you're gonna confuse the hell out of the average audience anyway. So they
Right.
wisely didn't go into
Mhm.
that deeply, but instead he goes, "Oh, I'm just gonna suck." He abandons his because remember his first mission was supposed to be Kylo is gonna lead the fleet. His second mission became, "Oh, I'm gonna use Rey as my essence transfer,
So
whatever."
yeah, wait a minute. So he said Kylo has to kill Rey,
Yeah, and
Yes,
but
then
Kylo failed.
before she
So
becomes a
then it's
Jedi.
so then it's Rey has to kill Palpatine, and he would take her there.
Correct.
But then
Plan
no,
C.
now they're here. Like,
Screw
did
all
he have a
that.
little list?
I'm just
Did
gonna
he have a
zap your life energy and just do everything myself.
which if he had said at the beginning, bring the girl here, she's a powerful Force user, and not telling Kylo that if they're both together in front of him, he can sap their energy.
right, that would have been better.
That's a plan.
Yeah.
Like,
It
how
has
do you
nothing
not
to
know
do with
that? With all his abilities and all his knowledge
right.
of Sith,
Uh,
you know, he
This
had
this
no
like
clue he can do that.
this like plan hopping of, well, let's do that. No, no, that's not working. Let's do this. No, no, that's not really working out.
It sounded
Let's
like
try this.
Chris Tiero in the flesh was going through this moment
yeah, I'm
and
surprised
just
today.
kept it.
Yeah, I'm surprised Ray didn't go save Martha, and then Kylo
It's
goes,
like,
"Why did you
Why
say
did you
that
say that
name?"
like he decided to keep it in a screenplay.
That's
He was like,
yeah.
you
That's
know what will work?
Ray's mom's name is
There
Martha,
you
by the way.
go.
Let's.
No, her
Oh
name
my
is
god,
Leia. Her name is Leia too. Save
Oh my
Leia.
this dude now he goes full villain and like cartoon villainy mode, zaps all their energy, and he goes back to Sidious form and Revenge of the Sith, the glowing eyes and the hood, and his robes magically turn like a silky red black. Like, dude, everything about it just looked like he changed his costume in mid transformation, and then was like, he did his
Hey.
absolute power, lightning bolt to the skies. Oh, this is the moment where,
Oh yeah.
I
yeah,
forgot
yeah.
about this. On your
Mm.
left.
All right. So we got to go into as all that was happening, you have
Yes.
to go into the space battle that was going on at the same time.
Yes, Mike, this is your turn, Mike.
Well, yeah. So we've got Poe in the Falcon. No, Poe's in his X-wing. Land. We've got a few Resistance
Yeah,
fighters.
Lando.
No, Lando hasn't shown up yet, but we've got Poe and we've
Oh,
got a few
okay.
Resistance fighters. We've got Finn with his buddies on the horses.
We got Rose.
Yeah, and they're
Now,
all trying to take
they're
out.
in
I'm
a
sorry. Go ahead.
So here,
they're in a transport.
Yeah.
That was the whole
right. So the plan was they realized, okay, these ships are trying to take off. They're trying to leave the atmosphere, but wait, they can't leave the atmosphere because until without this guidance system, the satellite guidance system. So
By the way, forget about the first one that left and destroyed the other planet. That was a fluke.
right.
The rest,
No, because the satellite was there. They all could have left any time before this.
Oh, I guess.
But they were waiting.
Okay, yeah.
The Emperor likes to make an entrance, so
Hmm.
he just sent one, which is still out there, by the way.
yeah,
True. So they realized
All right.
with some Sith guy.
Yeah, they realized they have to take out this satellite thing, so the rest of the ships won't be able to take off. The new head of the First Order, who killed Hux, realizes what they're trying to do and just shuts it down and switches the guidance system over to his ship. His ship is
Smart.
yeah,
Actually
was-
smart.
that was a good play.
But Finn, using the Force, was able to sense exactly where he went. to.
Yeah, okay.
Which wasn't explained. I was sitting there going,
How
"What?
does, how does he know?
Right.
How the hell did he know that?"
Yeah, so the plan is now to land on the Admiral's Star Destroyer so they can take out his transmitter that's guiding the ships.
Now, when you say land, what do you mean by land again?
did they not
Land their ships, their speeders?
No, did they not land their transport and then come out with those horses?
Ah, okay. There you go. That's the key part.
Right. So,
They
Yeah,
came,
that's the
they
key part.
landed with horses
yes.
and ran on the Starship Destroyer.
Right. So
They explained why they used horses, though. Did you hear
yeah,
that?
Yeah,
something
because
about
they couldn't electronically jam or something like that. Their systems.
Right.
yeah.
Because he goes, shut down their speeders, and they're like, well, they're not using speeders, sir.
Just
Then
what?
what are they using? And horses.
Yep. That was convenient.
Extremely convenient.
Yep. So we've got battle going on. We've got X-wings trying to take out as many of the Death Star rays. They're not actually trying to take out the Star Destroyers. They're trying to destroy those weapons. So they're trying to take out as
Correct.
many as possible. You've got
And apparently they can't use shields within this
within the atmosphere or something.
atmosphere or something.
So that's convenient as well. That's good. Then Finn and
But
his
then
crew.
just when everything looks despair, when
yeah,
everything seems to be despair, you hear on your left,
right.
and Lando shows up.
Lando
with,
shows
like-
up with everybody.
Everybody any fanboy has ever loved, every ship, every shape.
Yes, the ghost from Rebels apparently was there. I don't know. Someone told me that the ship was there.
Well, it's not like they didn't make more than one of that model, right? So you know what I mean? Like who designs a ship and only makes one? So, but anyway,
Star Wars.
yeah. So
The
then,
ship from Legends was there.
right, and then Wong says, "We need more." Oh wait, wrong movie.
And then Wong says,
Yeah, sorry, wrong movie. Yeah, so Lando shows up, and then the big battle goes on, and then at that point, Palpatine says, "Oh, I guess I have to do it myself," and shoots lightning up into
I
the
guess I do
sky.
myself. He shoots the biggest lightning I've ever seen, only for purely visual effects. Because to me, it made no sense that he was doing that. Like, isn't he also hurting his ships? Like,
well, yeah, and he only hit the rebel. He only hit the
oh yeah, of
rebel
course,
ships.
yes, because he's so OP now, he can do that. Let's just find out how OP he is in a couple of seconds.
Dude, you're at the final level. Everybody's
OP.
OP.
That's right. It's the Final Fantasy,
He's doing OP stuff, and then he looks and he sees Kylo gets up first, and he goes, "With you ends the Skywalker strain," and then he just shoots him. Like I think either lightning hits him, or he just force pushes him.
Yeah, lightning.
Yeah,
bolt.
right into the damn open ravine that was next to them.
Just happens to be there. That open
Yep.
ravine. Right
Like,
there.
did you learn from the Death Star not to have a freaking huge ass hole next to your throne
Oh.
room?
yeah,
No.
but that was because of the wreckage. That wasn't like planned to be there. That ravine was there because the thing has split apart, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's what
it
he
was.
fell into. But the comment from Palpatine was, "You'll fall like I did."
Oh yeah, he did say that.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So meanwhile, Ray.
In case you didn't get the call back, he was going to tell you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
needed it.
exactly.
Thanks, Palpatine. I needed
Yeah.
that. So our protagonist,
Exposition.
Ray,
Mhm.
who's going through Hulk Hogan mode now. You know when Hulk Hogan used to get beat,
Wait a minute.
and then he just starts shaking his fist, and he gets like that superpower move. You know.
Okay, we have to do one more Terrio callback before we get to this point, and that is the Emperor sees Rey getting up and basically tells her friends are dying in front of
yes.
her, and she stares. She stares at the battle exactly the way Luke did.
Yes. She looks up at
in
the
episodes.
the little hole in the sky that shows the ships. Your friends are dying, and he goes, "This would be the end of this pesky rebellion." I'm like, this is like 40 years later, and this dude's still talking about this rebellion. You know.
He doesn't learn. This guy, he's the smartest planner, but he doesn't learn a damn
But
thing
this
from his
this
failure.
time, he's not actually in charge of anything. Like the last time, he
Well,
was
he's
in
using
charge
the
of the
lightning,
Empire. This time, he's not in charge of anything. So
But while he's talking to her, she's like channeling all of the powers of. This is the part where it's like, get the freak out of here, man. She's like, remember the call back to her first training? She's like, come to me or call to me, whatever it is. Hear me. So she's doing that, looking up at the stars, which is a great visual, but it means nothing because like she's about to hit her super OP mode, Super Saiyan, and then you hear like Obi-Wan and Luke and Leia. People swear you hear Ahsoka and Ezra and Mace Windu. And I'm like, yeah, probably, but what difference does that make? Because to me, it's like, then tell me she's the chosen one.
Look, most people aren't going to recognize them anyway.
They're not. Like, it's just random
Yeah.
voices
Yeah.
that she's hearing.
Like
That's
I didn't know who all was
talking to her.
speaking. Like I recognized a couple, but I when I came home I had to look it up, like who all the voices were.
Yeah, apparently one of the Jedi Masters who didn't talk at all that was killed in Revenge of the Sith was one of the 10 voices. I'm like, Jesus Christ. So yeah, she hears all these voices and she stands, she rise, rise of the Skywalker, hint, hint, hint. She rises and grabs her saber and Emperor Palpatine shoots lightning at her and then she grabs a second saber that Kylo dropped somewhere.
I swear I've seen that exact setup before with someone shooting laser beams at somebody and then blocking it with their sword. Is it like a He-Man
Probably
thing?
He-Man.
I'm
He-Man's there
thinking
all the
of?
time.
And he
Or
and she's
Thundercats.
just like,
Lion-O.
okay, all right. Now we have a setup. We have a Chekhov's gun of her shooting lightning, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna try to shoot lightning at her, but she can shoot
Or she can at
lightning.
least grab it,
So I
absorb
thought-
it, and shoot back. That would have been dope.
You would
Right.
think.
I thought, oh, she's gonna catch it.
Like
But
Yoda
no.
did in Revenge of the Sith.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly.
No, that
Nope.
didn't happen. She shouts out the X-Men and takes the second one and holds it.
Wonder Woman. It's the exact
Wonder Woman. And then Palpatine, the dumbest Palpatine version I've seen, keeps shooting lightning at her, knowing that it's short circuiting back to him, to the point where now it's just straight melting him, and it was like one of the dumbest moves ever. Like you figure he learned that from fighting Mace Windu,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
but some people would argue and say, well, that's because he was trying to persuade Anakin that this was the way and that he's the only thing that can help Padme. So if he dies, that's it for that. So he was allowing that to happen. You could argue he's allowing Mace to reflect the lightning back into him, despite at the personal cost of his disfigurement. But in this situation, he had no such storyline. It was just him and her, and like the entire mob of Sith robes that were behind them. He could have just stopped shooting the lightning at her and did something else.
Mm-hmm.
No, he basically kept lightning himself to death until he was blown away. The entire arena somehow blew away too, and my brain blew away at the same time. It was just like,
So he wanted her to kill him, but basically I read somewhere that because he killed himself, she didn't technically kill him. Is that what
I
we're
guess
going with?
because he looked. If you remember how he looked terrified what was happening, but he couldn't stop it, which didn't make any sense. Like he was still shooting the lightning, and then his face looked, as it was getting peeled back, looked terrified, and then evaporated, incinerated, and everything around him incinerated. Yeah, the silence we have is exactly how the rest of the movie. No one clapped. No one. I've only have one showing of this. Not a single person clapped. Not a single person said yeah. It was just dead silence at that moment. Like people just didn't know what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And then of course she collapses after that. Her final Super Saiyan move took everything out of her. And she collapses. And who do we see crawling from the ravine that he was just tossed over? Ben Solo.
I never expected it. Never.
No, he was
I
limp
knew.
walking, crawling, made his way to her. She had the dead look of her eyes. She was out, and then
She plays a good
yeah, she
dead
did.
face.
She did.
I have
She
to
looked
say.
real limp. So then he kind of caressed her a bit, put his hand on her face, and then he stopped, and then he put his hand in her ribs, and he used his force power of healing. Mind you, he hasn't been a Jedi or a good guy in how many years. He was able to heal her back. They kissed, and the power of a kiss was so strong that he died.
Dude, she hasn't brushed her teeth.
Yeah, and then he vanished into the Force. And here's a part that at this point I was beyond like disbelief at the movie. But when it would flash back to Leia and the fact that Leia disappeared also in the Ghost, that means she was dead, but not dead to the point where she wasn't one with the Force. She was waiting for Ben, and when Ben died, then she vanished into the Force.
Which is a scene that could and should be very emotional,
Was
but was not.
Extremely emotional for a Chewie seeing her die first time.
Oh, you know what? I was more emotional at Chewie being
Hey,
emotional.
you know what made that scene better was if she had not been dead, but like coma. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they had her covered, her head covered.
Yes.
Like if she had just been
Right.
like if she had used her energy and had been so worn out that she went into a coma and then died as Kylo died. Then I can understand. That would make more
Yeah.
sense to me.
Like feeling her
Right.
son go into the Force, she was willing to follow
Exactly.
him.
It
See,
would it
too smart.
that
Guys
makes
are too
more
smart.
makes more sense than dying from a broken heart.
Yes, it does.
Where you gotta go there?
Yeah.
What happened after that? I can care less. Something about the Resistance and the rest of the ships and Lando, and then the celebration,
We saw
the
Ewoks.
kisses. Oh yeah, my wife gleed for the first time the entire movie when she saw the Ewoks. That was the only moment in the movie she really liked. I was laughing. Ewoks, woo-wee! I
So-
thought they got radiated when the first freaking when the Death Star blew up.
Yeah, right.
So for the past 3 years, there's been a certain segment of the Star Wars fandom that has wanted these two to be
The
a
shippers.
couple, right? The Reylo shippers. And fine, I thought they had a great dynamic character-wise, and I thought you could do something cool with a relationship that wasn't them getting
Mhm.
busy or whatnot as cousins. But that kiss was so platonic and had no fire to it. It just felt like you know what? Their people want this to happen, and we want to kill them. So let's give them a thing
Yeah.
before they die.
There was clearly no
Yeah.
chemistry.
But it was a cousin kiss, so I guess it was supposed to be like that.
Right.
It was kind of like
Exactly.
when Leia kissed Luke. There wasn't really. I wouldn't say there was passion behind it. That was more to piss
Right,
off Han, right? So,
Right. No, Luke like
Hmm. Ah,
oh, that family. Oh,
damn. Oh, I'm not gonna make these jokes. There are some jokes I don't want to make, and I'm not gonna make it.
now James called it Game of Thrones, so I call
Yeah,
it Game
but
of Sith Thrones.
I don't even want to think about what Force Ghost Luke had been
Jesus.
spying
Oh,
on his
geez.
sister, right?
Kylo would make a very terrible stalker here.
He was.
How often was he? How often was he getting in there when she?
Yeah,
didn't know?
right.
You know what makes it more disgusting is the final scene when you see that there are two Force ghosts together. I'm like, oh god,
okay,
eternal.
Yeah,
You're right.
Let's move on because
past
this
this.
is yeah.
Line of questioning. Here's the final scene. So after the celebration, we see Rey land on Tatooine and walk up to Luke's moisture farm, or Luke's uncle's moisture farm, where all of this supposedly started. Even though technically it started on a Star Destroyer. No, it started on the transport. What am I saying? Anyway, so she goes to the moisture farm and she takes the two lightsabers. She takes Kylo's or Kylo Ben's. Now she takes Ben's
Luke's
and Leia's.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I
No,
thought she
Ben
had
threw
Ben's.
his in the ocean. Remember?
No, Kylo
Wait, what?
threw his in the ocean. She had Ben's.
No, Ben. No, Ben got.
Yes, Ben. It's Ben's lightsaber from when he was training.
You sure?
He has two different. Yeah, because they were displaying at
But
one
how
of the
did
things they were.
how did Ray
displaying
get it?
Ben-
How did Ray
Ben's
get it?
silver.
Oh, so
And then-
Leia's saber was actually Ben's
She got
when
it
he
when
was,
she
when he was
got
training as a Jedi.
when she got Leia's. No, I think there's two different. There's Luke's saber, there's Ben's saber, and there's Leia's saber. I'm pretty sure she had Leia's saber and Ben's saber because
No, I gotta
No,
believe it's
no,
Luke
'cause
and
she did have
Leia's
Luke's saber.
sabers.
Yeah, wasn't Luke's saber destroyed in Last Jedi when they were doing that Force tug
No,
of
I
war?
don't think so.
okay. I'm
With the
this
saber.
whole time
But
thought
then
that
apparently
she had
they fixed
Ben's
it.
old saber when she went and
No.
grabbed stuff.
I'm sure somebody did the research. It's out there.
I'm gonna have to look this up. What sabers they had while we're talking. Anyway, all right, yeah. So she buries the two sabers, and she uses the Force to put them deep into the sand.
I was gonna say,
under
did
the
somebody
moisture
clean that
farm.
up?
Yeah.
It looked like somebody cleaned it up.
It still had the burning bodies of his aunt and uncle out.
It looked real clean.
Jawas. You don't know what Jawas eat, right?
That's just
It
bone
doesn't.
marrow now.
But okay, so Rey looks off into the distance and she sees the Force ghosts of Luke and Leia. Now this gave me a big question of where the hell Kylo was, since he just Force ghosted out and he doesn't appear to her.
Yeah, I think one thing I read was that it takes training to do that. So not everybody, not
See,
all Jedi and Sith can. Well, it's not a Sith power to begin with.
I read that he became one with Rey.
Oh yes, yes, that makes more sense
That
too. Right.
as
Terrible.
the
Mhm.
dyad, his life force actually became part
Yes.
of her,
Mhm.
which is why he could yeah, I don't know. It's not explained, it's a guess, it's whatever. So the end of the 9-movie saga is a random passerby in the desert of Tatooine sees Rey as she ignites her yellow lightsaber.
It is cool.
Pretty cool
They're very
lightsaber.
rare in the old stories. Almost as rare as the purple one. Yeah. I think she used her bow as part of the handle. I didn't get a chance to see it.
She switches it on with like a circular switch. It was pretty sweet looking. Anyway, yeah. Well, it had like part of her wrap. Remember how she always had this like stringy wrap? I think that was part of her handle too. Anyway, so the whole thing ends with a random passerby goes, "Who are you?" And she goes, "I'm Rey." Rey what? Rey Skywalker.
How is it in the middle of the desert? She didn't see this person coming.
She wouldn't.
Yeah, she doesn't care. She sensed no threat.
How do you sneak up on somebody in the desert? That's really good.
Terrible.
Ray who? Because I always ask Ray who. Ray who? Ray Skywalker. And doo-doo-doo, that is the end of our saga. The Skywalker saga technically continues because they're a Skywalker left,
Yep.
sort of.
Poe
Yeah,
who?
that was
Finn
kind of
who?
funny. That was kind of funny.
Oh, they hugged.
Yeah.
Poe got rejected by his ex-girlfriend, so they made sure to give us 10 seconds of that. He was like, "Yeah." She's like, "No." All right. And then it was kind of funny. And then they gave what's her name again?
Jana
Jana. They
Yeah.
gave Jana a moment with
with Lando, which was confusing
Lando.
because I think my wife
Little
thought they
creepy.
were
Yeah.
like dad and daughter. Like maybe she was a long lost daughter because again there are only two black people there.
Right.
But
well, no, 3
but
because Finn was there.
others could think that he was just really flirting on her. So
But I'm really surprised considering, and maybe they did it because there were so few black people. But typically, you know how these movies love to tie everybody to everybody else. I'm surprised they didn't do that with at least one of these characters
yeah,
to Lando.
she's
Right?
she's a Calrissian.
Yeah.
It was like Finn when she told Finn she was also a orphan by the First
Yeah.
I'm like,
Order.
oh,
He
maybe
was
they're
like,
brother and sister.
Right.
Right, exactly.
Nope.
And that's unfortunately where your mind went
Exactly.
to immediately. The way they said, because they didn't make it any other way for you. They're like, everybody's related. Come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, they gave as much time to a random kiss as they did to the ending of Finn and Poe in this trilogy.
True.
So now we have a dead Kylo Ren, who was a pretty fine villain. We have a Rey Skywalker out with her yellow lightsaber, looking like they are willing to do more movies with her or something. Maybe a TV show. And everybody else is
Oh,
forgotten.
by the way, was it at the celebration or I think it was before that? They had the big speech before they went out to the Emperor's planet with where Finn basically got promoted to general. Finn and Poe were like the new leaders of the entire resistance.
Right.
Yeah, generals. So
General.
I get
General,
Poe because
right.
he was involved in the resistance for a while, but Finn, who was an ex-stormtrooper 2 years ago, was a general giving speeches like we're gonna cancel the apocalypse. I
Listen-
mean, we're gonna like what?
Listen.
Right.
Hey, not just that. He fought for like 5 minutes and then was in a coma because he got his spine slashed in half by
Yes,
Kylo, right?
yes.
Right. And then tried to
And
run
then-
away, and then did a failed mission, but he was best friends with Poe, so
There you go.
General.
Congratulations.
Right. It's not what you do, it's who you know, guys. So yeah, that's Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker, I guess.
It's a terrible way to end a beautiful saga. Oh, we had to get a Chewie's medal. I felt like throwing my popcorn at the
Oh,
screen when I heard
God.
it.
Some random, resistance lady comes up and goes, "This is yours."
No, I thought that was
I think
Maz.
it's
Maz.
Maz. I think
Maz.
it's Maz. Yeah, I looked that up later.
Was it Maz? But still, it's like, hey, we pulled this off the dead bodies of your friends, so you finally get
30
one.
years too late, my friend.
Well, like at the end of Jedi, there was joy. At the end of A New Hope, and they're given the medal ceremony, there was time for joy. I didn't feel that in this. I didn't feel successful and happy and uplifted.
No, because it didn't seem like the stakes didn't seem high enough. Does that make sense? Like everything was just, like nothing had taken off. There was no real threat yet. I don't know.
Well, everything that was threatened was answered
Right.
immediately, and they kept, well, that plan didn't work. Here's a new plan, and that's a work plan. Oh, we're captured. Oh, we're not. We escaped. Oh, we're not. There's Kylo. Oh, no, just run away. Right? It's like, oh, come on. Take a minute. Take a minute and like have something meaningful go on.
The other moment for me that hit me, and I know this is being fanboyish, but when I saw Wedge and Teals in that final battle, I was like,
Oh yes, me too. Oh, that was great. I was so glad they.
See, I never get that. I don't feel like, there's Porkins. Someone had
No,
a had
but the
a
thing
picture
is,
of
Wedge
Porkins.
is the only guy who survived all three major battles. Right?
yes, that's correct. He was a battle of Yavin, he was a battle of
Yep.
Endor, and now he's part of this battle. And Hoth,
And
yes.
Hoth.
Luke didn't
Yeah.
even make it.
All right. Right.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's like when you guys got upset that they killed It's a
Akbar?
Trap off screen.
Akbar? Yeah, I'm still mad about
It,
that.
it does not get me at all. I did not care one iota
I
about
did.
General Akbar.
The man
I did.
led the freaking battle against Death Star 2, He deserved to go
Yeah,
out a little
man.
better than that.
He was a major part of that
Mhm.
entire rebel
Yeah.
fleet.
I mean, honestly, if you were to design a movie, you would probably design it. Oh, okay, we'll use that guy because people know him. I can see that as important. It's fine.
Yeah, he was a running meme even when memes were just becoming
Right.
popular.
No, I get it. It doesn't hit me like other people that a random guy even if you, well, he did this and I'm like, okay.
So I
cool
gotta
for him.
wonder.
It's not.
I gotta wonder when they asked him to be in Last Jedi. Did they send him the "It's a Trap" meme?
Yeah, we're in a weird consensus about this movie that it didn't do what it was supposed to do. It was overly filled with callbacks and went way too fast. Didn't have any great character beats for the character. I mean, maybe one or two. I don't want to give it like no credit. I felt a couple of things here or there.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna give Adam Driver, an ovation for doing what he did with the very little that he
the acting
received.
was okay. Yeah, Yeah.
But I honestly, Luke's Force Ghost didn't even feel that
Dude,
great.
I swore that he was out of voice character because he sounded like the Joker when he was first talking to her.
Uh-huh.
I was sitting there
Yes.
like, wait, what? Like, he doesn't normally sound like that when he talks like Luke. He sounded like he was talking as the Joker.
Right? Like when Yoda came back in The Last Jedi and he sat Luke down and he was he was both a little funny, but then he gave him some great wise words and they did some stuff that felt, and maybe it was the way the movie was setting it up, but it felt more meaningful. This felt like a cameo, and after the great acting that I've seen out of all of these actors, even in The Force Awakens, I've seen JJ pull better, It just feels like the script let them all down.
Yeah, it should have been. First off, it should have been, in my opinion, 2 movies. Like,
Oh yeah, absolutely.
because you could tell. Obviously, we could tell JJ was trying to fix what happened in Last Jedi. So I imagine that JJ had a plan, kind of, from 7, and then his plans got screwed up with 8. And then when they asked him to come back for 9, he said, "Okay, I got to fix this now because a lot of the stuff I was planning got thrown out the window." So I think he tried to fix the last movie and then do his movie
Can't do that.
in 2 hours, and that didn't work for me.
But you
He
can't.
should have.
All right, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, but he should have just did Rise of Skywalker Part 1 and then Part 2.
No, what he should have done was sat down with Kathleen Kennedy and the powers that be and write an overall like a beat. What's our vision for this damn trilogy? What are we gonna do? You can bring in different directors to do different episodes, but we gotta complete this main story arc.
Right, that's what I mean. So I imagine he had a plan, but for some reason they didn't have a plan.
But
right?
no, he didn't have a plan. It's J.J. Abrams. We've
He
seen
didn't.
this before.
Yeah, he didn't have a plan.
Mm,
We said it before
yeah,
that he's great at starting things, and someone else kind of takes it over from there. That's not how you build a vision. You gotta have a beginning, middle, end like as high level, and then let other people come in and flesh it out. This
Yeah,
goes back
and
to my
then fill in the
analogy
blanks.
about
Yeah,
building a building. These guys didn't do that, you
right.
know. And I'm always gonna put the finger at Kathleen Kennedy because unlike Kevin Feige, she just doesn't like know how to run this type of franchise to the point where it's being like it's consistent or it's coordinated. It's neither.
Okay, but we can't go back now and go like we. It's nice to say JJ should have sat down with Kennedy from the beginning and laid out a trilogy. But given that we didn't have that, he should have split this movie into two.
Yeah, but that's not the only issue. You can't force an
Yes.
ending when the middle changed direction. If you're writing a story and you say, "Well, I think I want to end it here." And as you're writing, you go, "Oh, my characters are moving me in a different direction."
Right.
You can't force them. This is how you get a muddled mess like this, where you're forcing a thing to happen that isn't naturally happening in the story. So, as a professional, he should be like, "Oh, okay, well, Johnson pushed me in a direction I wasn't planning on. Well, I instead of forcing it into where he wanted, where he takes this round peg and forces it into a square hole with a hammer, you say, okay, well, then what else can we do where we can get a reasonable conclusion to a trilogy?" I think you're right, Mike, in that this should have been two movies. It should have been the end to the trilogy and then the end to the saga. But they forced two.
Yeah, there you go. That's right on. That's spot on right there.
And forcing this to be two different things. And I mean, we've seen in the last 10, 15 years, popular franchises realize that you can make two movies at the end of your franchise.
Yep.
You can make
Two
two Deathly
Twilights.
Hollows, you can make two Hunger Games, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're right, and people will go to the movies. People
But
like your
but
franchise.
Chris, you're forgetting the big takeaway from this is yes, you're right. Assuming that you have the right people helming and writing for each of these movies, then yes, that's just form of success as you laid it out. But if you don't have somebody who has the overall vision for this, or you don't have the people that can write these stories to make them, enjoyable for a general audience, then it doesn't matter if you break it to two movies, one for this trilogy, one for the saga, it's still not going to work. Like for example, the Captain America trilogy. I'm pretty sure when they first did Captain America: First Avenger, they didn't have the kernel of Civil War to be
Oh no,
developed.
definitely
They
not.
didn't have that, but they knew with Kevin Feige and then Russo brothers who came in as Ryan Johnson with Winter Soldier, and they sat down. I'm pretty sure, and this is me thinking, they probably hit darts on the board, and it's like the overall what's the point of Captain America as a superhero? Like what's the main theme? Let's create that theme and then let's put stories that impact him and show an evolution of that character. And then let's take from the comics and actually build these stories and we build a trilogy, probably the most successful trilogy of the MCU.
It doesn't play like a.
The
Sorry, go
difference
ahead.
is first Avenger and
Winter
then
Soldier.
Winter Soldier.
Winter Soldier. They're not direct sequels. You see what I mean? Because we
Yeah.
had an Avengers movie in between, right? And we had a bunch of different movies that tied in.
Again, this is where you have Disney Plus. This is where you have other platforms that you could have done these side stories for these characters so that you get more information about why exactly is Finn the way he is. Why is Rose even in this movie? What happened to Luke and Kylo Ren? Like Disney had this platform. If they really wanted to, they could have planned these out much further. And again, this goes back to Kathleen Kennedy. The top of this is if you're spearheading, if you want to do this trilogy right and not rush it, you've got means of doing it right. You've got different avenues of filling in the skeleton that we don't know about. Like the
But
whole thing with the Emperor, we could have gotten a backstory about how he came to power at a Disney Plus movie, and you push this third movie 2 years from now.
yeah, but this isn't the MCU. This is not a comic book franchise. This is a direct
Yeah,
sequel
right.
franchise. This is a story we follow for X number of movies and see it through. JJ or Chris Terrio or even Kathleen Kennedy or was it Bob Iger? It doesn't matter who, but someone decided, oh well, Rose Tico wasn't super popular, so she's going to get 30 seconds of time, and we're going to introduce two new characters that we're going to give no time or story to. that was used. That's a bad
And
storytelling.
that's bad. And the reason why I only use the MCU because to me it's probably one of the most successful examples where you have someone at charge that can make a split decision halfway. Like for example, we got rid of the first Ant-Man director because he wanted to buck the trend of what the MCU formula was going to be. They brought in the other guy, I forgot his name, who did the first Ant-Man movie, which wasn't a bad movie, it wasn't a great movie, it's
No.
still enjoyable,
Yeah.
still made money,
Hmm.
but they kept them in the formula of this is what we know works. This is the big story we're telling you eventually. This is where your character's gonna fit into this bigger story. So you can do side stories about him and his daughter and villains, whatever, but overall you this is the big story that we need you to this big sandbox that you have to play in. Whereas I feel like in Star Wars, and there's plenty of different stories out there that exist in either legends or canon, it's like no one's giving any direction of what to do. You're just giving your own sandbox and you're just going out there and you're putting something on the screen. Rogue One, there was no direction other than the fact that this movie has to end in the beginning of New Hope.
And that they switched halfway through to a new director.
Yes,
Same with
exactly.
Solo.
And it was successful. They made over $1 billion. Solo, same thing, but was not as
Mhm.
successful because you can't be lucky every single time like you're a Rogue One. You need to have some sort of leadership to say, this is what we want to do. You can do whatever else to like flesh it out, but this is the main story that we have. Like George Lucas's vision. George Lucas had vision for the 4, 5, and 6. Maybe he didn't quite know when he wanted to reveal the fact that Anakin was Luke's dad or other plot points. But he had a vision in the original trilogy. In the prequels, where he had more control, he also had a vision. Some of it could say it's boring as hell and whatever, but you could see the consistency from Phantom Menace to Revenge of the Sith. And this trilogy that just came out, there's no overall story. There's no. It's like three different movies, and the last two really are competing against each other. The first one, the better of the three, is like a standalone movie that is just exists somewhere else that never really took off from that point on, and it's just sad.
Well, see, and that's where we go. Is I see the first movie in this trilogy as a hey guys, don't worry about the prequels. It was also an answer movie. Hey, forget the prequels. This is the old Star Wars. This is what you love. This has got some of the characters you like, and it feels the story's similar, but it's got some new stuff. Okay, and here's this character, and go. It didn't for all the quote unquote, hey, JJ set up all this stuff, I didn't feel like anything was set up. It felt like just a general, hey, welcome to Star Wars again. And these are the characters. I don't know what's going on yet. And then, so you get a Brian Johnson who makes decisions about the characters, whether you agree or disagree. He made decisions. He said, this is where I want Rey from and where she's going. This is what I want Kylo to be doing now and what direction he's going to. This is forget Snoke. We don't want to rehash Vader versus the Emperor versus Luke. We want something new. We just want Kylo versus Rey and their battle. I don't want this Snoke thing. It's in the way. It's a rehash. Let's get rid of it. And yes, you could say Finn was a goofball, but he had a character, right? And so everybody had arcs and purpose and direction. And then here you get this movie that says, "Oh no, guys, no, seriously, it's the ones you remember, the ones you all liked. Can't we all get along? There's an emperor and a good guy, and he's got to pretend to fight the bad guy, and he's got to die, but not really." And it was like, God, just move forward. Some series feel like they can grow up and bring their audience with them. This feels like a series that the audience doesn't want to grow up and move forward with the series.
That's a very good point. But you know what it stemmed from, right? Is the whole way Episode 7 was marketed and what was promised to the fans, the audience. Force Awakens was supposed to sound like, and you can disagree or not, a continuation of from Episode 6. So you can't grow up past a series if the creators are telling you this will be a continuation of the first 6 movies. This is Episode 7 of
Yeah,
9.
but look at a
This
hair.
is not episode A, B, C of a different saga. This is a continuation of the 6 movies you've seen up to
No,
date.
but look at like a
So
Harry Potter series from the 3rd installment to the 6th installment. There is a major character and depth growth between those things.
that's because that was written and it was planned. A vision from the author wrote it out that way. Unlike Star Wars, where we have no vision and we only going by, each director, each producer at the time, Harry Potter had a vision
Mhm.
from J.K. Rowling's where she actually planned it out that way from the first movie all the way to the end. Well, in the books anyway, where you grew. You're right. You grew with these characters because she grew with the writing. She was the vision. She was a consistent force. She was the creative mind behind all that. So you always had consistency, and you grew with the characters. Whereas in Star Wars, there is no consistency. Ever since George Lucas sold the franchise, it's been how can we make money out of these movies? Period. So we're gonna give every big blockbuster writer, Chris Terra, I'm talking to you. We're gonna give J.J. Abrams, who's successful in some endeavors. We're gonna give um, all these folks the rights to write their own story within a saga that's supposed to be one continuous saga. Now, I like the point that you make is about let's find other ways to expand this universe without rehashing the same themes, which is why I'm in love with The Mandalorian. I was in love with Star Wars Rebels because they used a lot of the Jedi stories, but they took it further than it's ever been in either the prequels or original trilogy. So there are successful conditions or scenarios where what you're telling me right now works. But the main saga, the Skywalker, and it's still called Skywalker Saga. The main saga didn't have that consistency or vision. It's just random one-off movies,
Mhm.
and it's not going to work. And that's been my major complaint about it. It's like the reason why I find it very disappointing and I find it very lackluster is because you created this vision, quote unquote, from the first movie, the way you marketed it, and this is what I was supposed to be getting, and you've been giving me 3 different movies, and none of them line up to each other. How am I supposed to enjoy that as a Star Wars fan? I'm not. I'm disappointed. I'm upset, and it just doesn't work.
No, I'm gonna agree. We're all gonna have agreement on that one. Whether you like each installment,
Yeah,
however you feel about them, I think we can all agree
Yeah, I like Force Awakens by itself, but I can't like it as
that
part of a
the
trilogy.
over there is a lack of
no.
overall vision and cohesion has really hurt the whole thing. Mike, do you have any final words on the either this movie or the saga as a whole?
No, I mean, like I said, I would have been better if they had just split it up. If they had taken more time to like try and figure out what they were doing. My first viewing as a fan, was okay. And next time, I'm sure the next time I'm gonna be more critical of it as I watch. But I'm hoping to catch a little more of what I missed. Like any background stuff or what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And James, final words.
Mandalorian's kicking ass. That's I know you haven't watched episode 7 yet, but man, that was a very good episode. And I still love the Star Wars brand. I'm still a fan of the content on some of their platforms. Obviously Disney Plus, the animated movies that just ended, Rebels. I'm not really watching Resistance, but the video games now. My son, who's growing up with these games, or he's bringing me back up to fold with Fallen Jedi. So
Hey, Clone Wars starts again in February.
nice. So despite how disappointed I am with the saga movies, the way they ended, I'm still a huge fan of the brand.
By the way, for Clone Wars, I was looking at the first episode description. Comes out in February because the rest aren't filled in. But the first one says that Obi-Wan and Anakin find some new secret weapon that Palpatine's been working on.
After all we just talked about.
Yeah,
By the way, I'm looking forward to the Obi-Wan series now. Now that I'm seeing some of the people who are working on The
yeah,
Mandalorian and they're involved with Dave Filoni. And I'm sure at some point Kevin Feige is going to step in because I think that's why they hired him for, at least for the small screen stuff. Deborah Chow. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to that stuff.
yeah. Same here.
I guess my final word here is
Your final order.
the final word. There's were pieces in the movie that I enjoyed. it felt like Star Wars. All three of these have the Star Wars decorations on them, and I love a tree with Star Wars decorations. Okay, so that's what it. At least I have that. I understand. I mean, I've watched the prequels for all I rail about J.J. Abrams. Oh my God, George Lucas and Jar Jar Binks, and flat acting and bad love stories. I've watched those multiple times. I'm one of the few people
Same.
I know who really do enjoy pod racing. I love those scenes. And of course, they have great battles and whatever. So I have the ability to watch the thing and pick out the things I like and not spend my next 2 years yelling and screaming and hating on something. I will rewatch these things. I will continue to enjoy the first two movies, and I'll see what I can find out of the last one to maybe bring myself around a bit. But it was disappointing, and James is absolutely right about the cohesion. Mike is right about this really was too much information in one movie, and I think they could have done better, and I would like them to maybe make better plans in the future with a little more forethought when you're gonna spend $600 million making properties, and they were
Yeah.
successful, so there's no way they are not making more of this. I would hope that we get more Ray. I'm sad we're not going to get more Kylo, but we'll probably get a TV show or something. What am I saying?
In 30 years, we'll get old Ray, right?
Right. And I as a fan of media and as I get older, I enjoy it when they find ways to take and give older fans something to connect to. I actually connected pretty well with old Luke. I thought it felt good as an older guy, not quite that old, but when you have 20-year-old kids, you kind of connect that way a little bit. So I like to see that stuff, and that's why I think I really wanted this one to pull it out and give us all something more than old Sheev
Oh
at his
God,
old tricks doing the exact same thing again. So sad but true.
damn shame what they did to that man.
But you know what? I'll give this Rise of Skywalker one thing. It brought this podcast together in harmony.
Let us be the example for all the different myriad of fans out there for Star Wars universe.
Let all of
Yeah.
your entertainment battles end in tapping of beers or glasses of blue milk or something to that extent, with friends who like and are passionate about the same things as yourself. All right, guys, we're 3 hours in.
May the force be with you.
I know
Whew.
editing
Man.
will take this down a bit, but yep. Thank you all who have stuck with us for this entire time. I, as your podcast host and editor, am sorry I can't release it immediately. It will take me a day or so to get this together, but I will get this out as quickly as possible for everybody. And I want to thank my hosts, James and Mike. Thank you very much for spending this time with me.
Yes, and may the
No
force be
problem.
with you.
The force be with you guys. Merry Christmas, everyone. Oh, don't
Merry
swear,
Christmas.
R2. That's not nice. Good night.